Hey everybody, and welcome back to the board meeting. Today we're going to be doing a top 10 list. My top 10 efficiency games. Now, what do I mean by efficiency games? I mean, these are the games that I think it is hyper important for you to be efficient on each and every one of your turns. Efficient with your actions, efficient with your resources. Everything you have to do, you have to be efficient at. And of course, in every board game you have to be efficient in, but these are the ones that I think that it's super important for you to be efficient with everything you're doing every single turn, even more so than other games. And I do really like games that you have to be efficient in, that it's extremely like one of the most important things in those games. I think it's one of the games that types of games that I'm actually decent at. And I do really enjoy that puzzle of trying to be as efficient on each and every turn as you possibly can be. I do enjoy thinking about that. And these are games that it seems like you have to think several turns in advance. Like, I'm going to do this, and then the next turn I'm going to turn in those resources to do this, then which is going to allow me to do this. These are the ones that you kind of have to think like pretty far in advance, not just your next turn. You're going to be having to plan for sure in these efficiency puzzle games. But let's just jump into the number 10 right away. And number 10 is Pandemic. Now, you could replace Pandemic with a lot of different cooperative games for what I'm talking about here, but mostly those games that, like in Pandemic, you have a certain amount of actions that you can spend each turn to do things, to mitigate kind of the bad things and to advance into the game. Now, a lot of cooperative games do that. You know, you could put Horrified here if you want. You could put several games, but it's basically those games that you're spending those actions to do certain things to mitigate them. And cooperative games, a lot of them have that Pandemic kind of system of you take your actions trying to mitigate things, clearing the board of bad things. Then the AI comes in and kind of scatters bad things around the board. Then you take your turn and you do kind of mitigate things, advancing the gameplay sort of thing. And these are the games that are very important to be efficient on each and every one of your turns. If, say, you have 4 actions in Pandemic and you take your turn and 3 of those actions are moving to this one spot to remove 1 cube. That wasn't a very efficient turn. You want to be doing as much as you possibly can in this game, or you're going to just start falling behind, and the AI or the computer or the virus in this case is going to win the game. And you could throw in any version of Pandemic you want to, one of the 13, 14 different versions. Each version of those you're going to have to be efficient in. So yes, number 10 is Pandemic. Going on to number 9. Number 9 is the most recent game out of any of these games. This is First Rat. In First Rat, you are going to have multiple rats that you can move onto these boards. And it's kind of like a worker movement, worker placement sort of game, but you have multiple rats around this board. And you can move as many of your rats as you want, as long as they land on the same type of space, these resource spaces. And then you're going to collect resources from all your rats that you moved going on to that one specific type of action. Now, if you're only moving one rat to one spot and getting the actions, and it's not as big of an action, you're going to start falling behind. You want to move a bunch of your rats, and you can get 4 rats at most, I think. You want to move all 4 of your rats and land on a certain type of spot for them and get like a massive move. You want to have these massive moves more often than you want to have a move where you're just moving 1 or 2 rats. You want to be as efficient as you can in this game. It's a game that I really enjoy, and I haven't heard like a ton of buzz around this game. I've seen it on a couple lists, but it doesn't get as much love as I think it deserves. So yes, number 9 is First Rat. Going on to number 8. Number 8 is another well-loved game. This is Everdell. Everdell is a worker placement game that has you progressing through seasons. And throughout the seasons, you're going to collect more workers that you're going to have available to you. But to start the game, you only have 2 workers. And you are going to have to place out these workers, collect resources, and play these cards down into like building a little tableau area. And at most you can have 15 cards at the end of your turn, at the end of the game, after you've progressed through 4 seasons. But you're not placing out a bunch of workers. Like I said, you only have 2, so you have 2 moves in that first season, and you're going to get a couple more workers throughout the game. But you're not going to be placing out a lot of workers, so you have to be very efficient with those resources that you're getting. You might place out a worker that gets you 2 berries. Then you can play this card that costs 2 berries, but you're also going to get like a wood and a stone for that placing that card. And then maybe you can spend that wood and stone to do something else. And one part in this game is when you place a building, you can get the creature of that building type for free to play down. And you're going to want to do that because that's going to let you spend less resources. And throughout the game, when you hit certain seasons, some of your cards are going to let you get resources. So you're going to want to have to plan for that. And this does have a mechanic that other games on this list are going to have, that you might be in different phases of the game, depending on how long you've kind of kept your seasons going. Like I might be in this season, but you might have been a little bit less, you've extended your seasons a little bit less, so you might be in a season in front of me, and your game might actually end before my game, and that you don't want to do that for sure. If you end your game and other people are still taking 3, 4, 5, 6 turns after you, you know that maybe you weren't as efficient as them in this game. So yes, number 8 was Everdell. Going to the next game. The next game is a huge game. It's a cooperative game. This is Gloomhaven. In Gloomhaven, you're going to be working as a group, a team, going down into this dungeon and attacking the enemy. But it's got this very interesting timing mechanism where if you run out of your deck, your character's dead. But each round, basically, you're going to lose one of your cards. So eventually you're going to start going through your cards a little bit. You're not going to have as many cards. There's also powerful moves that you can do on certain cards, and those trash those cards. So you're going to go through your deck even faster. So you're going to have to try and time this game and out where you're killing all the bad guys, doing your objectives, whatever your goal is for that scenario, before your deck runs out. And you're going to have to be efficient with your turns. You're going to have to be able to, if you're going to trash a card for the big action, you want to make sure that there's a reason for you to do it. And it's just a really interesting puzzle of timing, of how efficient you can be with those particular cards. And it's a game that I really, really like. So number 7, the big game, Gloomhaven. The next game, number 6, is a flip and write, actually. This is one of the most complex flip and writes, though, that I know of. This is Hadrian's Wall. This is one of the most combo-tastic games that I've ever known in my entire life. I've played this game a couple times multiplayer, but it's very much a solitaire style game. And why you need to be efficient in this game is basically you have some resources in this game, and you're going to spend those resources to mark off boxes in this. When you mark off that box, you might get a certain color meeple. Then you're going to have to take that meeple, go over here and spend that meeple on this, which might get you more resources, might get you different colored meeples, stuff like that. But you're going to be constantly comboing things, and you're going to want to think of how you're going to do this each and every turn, and you have so many rounds, but you want to extend your round so that you can do more and more actions, marking off more and more boxes to get more and more points. It's just, you have to be basically 100% efficient in this game if you want to do really well. And it's one of my favorite flip and write games, and it's a very, very good solo experience. So number 6 was Hadrian's Wall. On to number 5. Number 5, ironically, is Five Tribes. Five Tribes is this game where you have a ton of meeples around this board on these different spots. And it basically uses this Mancala system where you pick up all the meeples of one spot, and you're going to be dropping these meeples off on different spots. And the spot that you land on, that you end your turn on, you drop your last meeple off on, you're going to then take all the meeples of that color and then do that color's meeple's actions along with that tile's action. But you have to be very efficient in this, because you actually are going to bid for turn order in this game. So if you start around and you're like, if I can do this action over there, I'm going to get a ton of points. But you're going to have to bid in order to go first for that spot. And if you say you bid and you spend 12 to go first, and then you go and do that action and it only gets you 9 points, you're actually losing points to do that. So you want to be efficient with your auctioning, with your bidding, and you want to be efficient with your moving around, doing these big actions with those meeples on the board. And yeah, so if you're spending 12 and getting 9 points, and the next person only bid, 5, and he gets an action that got him 10 points, you're out of luck. You're going to fall behind in that game. And it's one of the most thinky games that I think of. And it's going to be one of those games that everybody's just going to be staring at the board, trying to like math in their head what they should do, or where see a certain move that does the most points. Yeah, so number 5 is Five Tribes. Going to number 4. Number 4 is another sort of recent game. This is Lost Ruins of Arnak, which came out a couple years ago. But this is one of those games that combos, and it's also one of those games that your round might be longer than other rounds, depending on how long you can make your round last. Because once you've played all your cards and you don't have any resources to spend, your round is over. But other people might still be going. If say I move up on a track, spend a couple of this resource, but it gets me more resources. Then I go over here, I defeat a monster, which lets me get even more resources. I'm going to play this card, which lets me draw more cards or something like that. So there's a lot of things that can happen in this game, and you're going to be comboing things. And if you're comboing your stuff better than other players, and you're extending your round every single round, you're going to be doing pretty well in that game. So you want to extend each and every round as long as you can to do the most things to get the most points in this game. And yes, number 4 is Lost Ruins of Arnak. Going into the top 3 games, number 3 is an older game. This is Power Grid. This is a game that I've referred to a lot of times as Math the board game. There are 3 different sort of phases in this game that you're going to have to be as efficient as possible in these phases, and it's all basically math related. The first phase, you're going to be getting a new sort of type of power plant or a way you can generate power, and you're going to be auctioning this off, and you want to be efficient with how much money you're spending to get these certain power plants. And then the next phase is you're going to have to go buy the things that will generate, will start up your power plants, basically. You know, whether it's trash or oil or whatever it is, there's different types of resources. And throughout the game, some of these resources are going to get very expensive. Some might get pretty cheap at some points. So you want to buy a lot of the resources when they're cheap. You don't want to be spending a lot of money when they're expensive. So you want to be efficient in that part of the game. Then the next part of the game, after everything else, is you are going to extend your power grid, basically by buying into new cities, extending your power grid, and each city is going to cost us so much money. So you're trying to math out the best way that you can spend your money in each of these phases, and it's ultra important for you to be able to math it out correctly, or you might not be able to do everything you want to do in each round. So yes, number 3, Power Grid, one of my favorites, especially for an older game. Going to number 2. Number 2 is a game that my group really, really likes. We haven't played it as much recently, but we did play it last week. This is It's a Wonderful World. This is this puzzle of each round you are going to be drafting cards, and those cards you're trying to build to be put into your engine that you're building. So you're going to be drafting in the first phase of the game, and you want to pick cards that are going to work for you. If you're getting cards that are not going to work for you in any aspect, you are wasting a card, you're wasting a turn, and you're going to fall behind. So after you draft cards, then you are going to basically start getting resources. And the resources you get are from the cards that you've built already. Actually, the cards that you've built are going to get you resources of certain amounts. So you're going to get your resources and put them on these cards. And if you complete that building, that card that you're trying to build, that goes into your engine. You're going to start getting more resources during that phase now. And you're just trying to math out exactly what resources you need and when you're going to get them. And you're just going to have to be efficient in this game. 100%. It is a great little puzzle, in my opinion. So number 2 is It's a Wonderful World. Going on to number 1. And number 1 is a game that I thought of immediately when I decided I was going to make an top 10 efficiency games list. This is Scythe. Scythe is one of my favorite games, and it is 100% an efficiency puzzle of how you're going to be able to move along this sort of grid of hexagon spaces and collect resources, manage those resources. But the really big efficiency thing is, in this game, you're going to basically be doing you're going to be choosing one action, and that action is going to be one of 2 actions. or you can do 2 actions if you can do both of those actions. So you're going to be moving over here, doing this action, maybe possibly doing that bottom action, and then going over to another spot and doing that top action or bottom action, maybe doing both those actions. The real thing is you really want to do both actions as many times as you possibly can. People have mathed out for each of these factions. If you have this faction and you have this player board, you can win this game in 20 rounds. I haven't gone that far, but you can definitely math out what is the best route for each of these sort of characters and factions that you have. And it's a fun thing for me to try and figure out. I really enjoy it. But like I said, the main thing that you want to do is you're going to want to be doing 2 actions as often as you can. If I'm doing 2 actions once out of every 3 turns, but my neighbor is doing 2 actions 2 out of every 3 of their turns, they're going to start be going ahead of me pretty quickly in this game. And you can see it, how far some people have progressed in the game. And it's definitely a game that I think the more that you play it, the better you are at it. And I've played Scythe a ton over the years. And we did play this game actually a couple days ago, and I remembered how much I do enjoy this game. Yes, so number 1 is Scythe. So let me know down in the comments below what your favorite efficiency game is, or what you think is the game that is most important for you to be efficient every single turn on is. Either way, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe to see more weekly content from me, Shane, at the board meeting in the future. I hope you all have an amazing day. Take care.